Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sports Talk. Today bringing you my picks of the Big Ten West, and just get right into it. My 7th spot, I have the Purdue Boilermakers with second year head coach Daryl Hazel, returning quarterback Austin Appleby, and senior wide receiver Danny Anthrop returning. They had the 99th ranked defense last season, averaging 31.7 points against. Last season they ended 3-9, just 1-5 in conference play, and 0-4 versus the top 25. Have their key games versus Virginia Tech, versus Minnesota, versus Illinois, and versus Indiana. Have them ending around 4-8. A little bit of improvement from last season, but not a ton. In the 6th spot, I have Northwestern. They lost their quarterback in Trevor Siemian, who passed for over 2,000 yards last season. They have senior quarterback Zach Oliver to step in, sophomore running back Justin Jackson. Their defense ranked 48th last season, averaging 25.2 points against per game. They finished 5-7 last season. This season, I have their key games being at Duke, versus Iowa, versus Purdue, and versus Illinois, and finishing around 5-7. I like what Pat Fitzgerald has done there. I think they've really stepped it up competitively, but after Ohio State beat them in the 2013 season, they have just never recovered. And so that's why I had to put them in the 6th spot. In the 5th spot, I have Illinois with head coach Tim Beckman. I have also liked what he's done there. I think that he's made them a relatively competitive team. This might be a make or break year for him if they don't have a pretty good season. They do have returning quarterback Wes Lunt, who had a season-ending injury in 2014, which kind of wrecked their season in a way. Senior running back Josh Ferguson, a huge piece to this offense. Wide receiver Mike Dudek, 3 big pieces to that offense. The defense has to improve. They were 109th with their defense last year, giving up 34 points a game. Just not acceptable defense there, and that just explains why they had a relatively bad season, because the offense, they got the job done. The defense, they need to improve. Like I said, they finished 6-7 last season. I have them going 6-6 this year. Maybe they'll win the bowl game if they make it this far. I do think they'll have if everybody stays healthy offensively, as far as Wes Lunt and Josh Ferguson, I think they have a pretty good season, maybe even go 7-5, but I think that's about the ceiling for them this season. I have their key games at North Carolina versus Nebraska, at Iowa, at Purdue, and at Northwestern. At North Carolina is going to be kind of interesting to see their Illinois' high-octane offense against North Carolina's defense. I'm expecting improvement there. Versus Nebraska, going to be a tough game, and then I think the rest are relatively winnable. Moving on to the 4th spot, I have the Iowa Hawkeyes. They lost their quarterback Jake Rudock as he transferred to Michigan, so their junior quarterback CJ Beathard is going to have to step in for him. They also lost Mark Weissman, their running back, and the senior Jordan Kanzeri are going to have to step in. They lost Cavante Martin-Manley, their wide receiver, and defensively, they have senior defensive back Sean Draper. It's going to be a big leader for them this season. Their defense ranked 51st, giving up 25.6 points against. So, I mean, not too bad, but their problem is like the opposite of Illinois'. They need to switch it to where their offense is as good as their defense, and then I think they have a pretty good season. They were 7-6 last season. I have them going around 6-6 again, with their key games being at Iowa State versus Illinois, versus Maryland, and versus Minnesota. And now moving into my 3rd spot, I have the Nebraska Cornhuskers with first-year head coach Mike Riley. I think he's going to do a lot of good things this year, but in quarterback, they don't really have their guy yet. And same thing with their running back. So losing Amir Abdullah is going to take its toll on this team, and Kenny Bell, the wide receiver. So those 2 big pieces, they're going to take its toll on this offense. So I have them at number 3 because I think they're going to do decent, but they're not going to be a powerhouse team that's just gonna. I don't believe they're gonna win the Big Ten West. I think it's gonna be a few years before they get there. They do have junior defensive back DJ Singleton, who's gonna be a leader on that defense. So I think he'll have a pretty good season. In my number 2 spot, I have Minnesota. I really like what Jerry Kill has done there. Every season they just keep improving, and I think this year it's going to be no different. Returning quarterback Mitch Leidner. They lost David Cobb, their power running back, so that's going to be a big hole. But I expect they're going to have a pretty good replacement for him. They lost tight end Max Williams, so a couple big losses on that offense. They have, on the defensive side, they have seniors linebacker Peter Westerhouse and defensive back Antonio Johnson. Expect big years from them. The defense was 34th overall last season, averaging only 24.2 points against per game. So pretty good on the offense. Defense, excuse me. The offense wasn't bad either. But if they can improve on both sides of the ball, I think that they have maybe even win the Big Ten West, which they were so close to doing just a season ago. So I have to see how that plays out. And I have key games versus TCU, versus Nebraska, versus Michigan, and versus Wisconsin. Versus TCU is going to be their first week, and I don't expect them to win that, coming with all the momentum TCU has, being the second best team in the country. Devontae Boykin at quarterback for them. So they're going to be a powerhouse this season. I don't think Minnesota wins, but I do think that they have a chance if they can come out and really play excellent defense. So we'll have to see on that game, and I have them finishing around 8-4 on the season. And in my number 1 spot in the Big Ten West, I have the Wisconsin Badgers winning the Big Ten West yet again under first-year coach Paul Chryst. I know it's a first-year coach, and I know they lost Melvin Gordon, but they do have fifth-year senior quarterback Joel Stave. A lot of leadership he has, and they have running back Corey Clement, who had pretty good season even though he was a backup. So I think he's gonna have a pretty good season. They have senior wide receiver Alex Erickson, so they have key players at every position that I think is really going to help. They still have their defensive coordinator Dave Aranda, so that defense has been pretty good the last few years, and they still have him, so I don't expect much change. I expect them to be very solid defensively like they have been. Key games, I only have 3 for them: versus Bama, at Nebraska, and at Minnesota. So versus Alabama is going to be their first game at a neutral site in Texas. So I don't see Wisconsin winning that game. Alabama is just too talented, even though they do not have a starting quarterback yet. But I don't know. I think Wisconsin's got a pretty good chance with their defense as solid as it is, and their senior quarterback's going to give them some leadership there. And the running back, like I've mentioned, all very skilled players. So I think that is going to give them a good chance at beating Alabama. If they can beat Alabama, they can possibly go. I think the most they're going to go is 10-2, or the best they're going to go. So I do have them going 9-3 to 10-2 anyways. So if they can beat Bama, then I think they can possibly even make the playoff. But I don't see that happening, either of those things, with a first-year coach. But we'll have to see how that plays out. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy this, please like and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next preview. This is Sports Talk, heading out.